Good morning to all the participants. Now we have the second
Morning,
session
sir.
of communication skills. And because the speaker, we have already introduced the speaker to you. He's the former chairman of Company Secretaries of India and Hyderabad branch, Hyderabad uh, branch, and also he's a SIRC, the Southern India Regional Council chairman also. And he's a practicing company secretary, and so he's now taking up the communication skills for accounts and finance paper. It is for the second session. Actually, this is actually 3 hours program. We are now in the second session. The third session will continue in the next week. And so please, all of you, keep your mics on mute and then patiently, have the concentration. Don't lose the concentration. It is a very, very important program for you. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. The floor is handed over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Prakash, and sorry for the initial technical issues. Anyway, good morning to all of you. You know, if all of you remember, we tried to learn the basics of communication in the last talk which we had on the last Sunday. Now, I would like to take it forward from there onwards with a PPT which I'm going to share with you. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about business communication. As I told you, we are all in the, attached to the corporate world. So naturally, the business communication is more important. Hello. Hello. ఎవరండి నేను లెక్చర్లో ఎవరు నేను కొంతసేపట్లో చేస్తాను లెక్చర్లో ఓకే సారీ సో I start with a small quote. As I said, I have a small weakness for some quotes. Business communication has been told the transmission of information within the business environment. The information may be transmitted, sent and received between or among individuals. Here, individuals also includes the organizations. This has been given by Harcourt, Prison and Merrier. Now, what is the importance of business communication? Individuals spend most of their time communicating. Now, it is in relation to your promotions, salary increases, and productivity relate directly to communication competence. Businesses depend on communication. Business communicate internally and externally. It is not only that, in case of business, that the communication takes place only externally, but also internally, as we had seen in the earlier lecture. Let us go forward with the various, what I should say, significant parts or components of business communication. As you all remember, I had said that there are three elements, important elements in case of a communication. It is the sender, the message, and the receiver. Now, in case of business communication, the most important thing which a business expects is that what it wants to communicate to either its, what I should say, customer or supplier, whoever it is, what they want to communicate is properly understood. So that is what is known as the receiver understand and receiver response. Then, out of these two, that is, once you send a communication, when I'm trying to talk to you, I expect that you understand whatever I'm saying, which is very important. However, at the same time, I also expect that you respond in such a way that whatever I wanted to communicate to you has been understood properly which would help me to move forward, or in case of a business, it helps for it to move forward with its business. More important in the communication is that the relationship is properly established, which benefits both the parties. Because in case of a business, if you take a supplier, you should be able to get the product what you wanted from him, with a proper quality, at a proper price, and at the proper time, so that your forward schedules do not get affected, and your business, what I should say, achieves the objectives and the goals of it. The organization goodwill, which also improves, or the goodwill, in the sense the reputation of the organization is built in the market based on, I mean, you may wonder how communication helps in building the goodwill, or the value of the organization. It is how you respond to whether to any queries received by a customer or by a supplier when he asks you for further information, how promptly you attend and all that, how nicely you try to communicate, so that this is what gets reflected in the, on the organization, by virtue of which it gets, or its value in the market is enhanced. Now, if you see patterns of business communication, internal communication, this is a typical pictorial representation of an organization. We have understood the upward, downward, and horizontal communication briefly when we were talking last time. Now, in case of upward communication, it is from the finance manager to the general manager, or HR manager to the general manager, or the operations manager to the general manager, and so on and so forth. Now, in case of downward communication, if the general manager would like to communicate to the R&D manager or the product marketing manager and so on, that is the downward communication. In case of horizontal communication, it is between the R&D, the operations manager, or the product marketing manager, or between the finance manager or the HR manager, and so on and so forth. These are the normal types of communication which happen in the case of an organization. Now, patterns of business communication, internal communication. Let us talk about the internal communication. Now, there are two types of internal communication, the formal and informal. In case of formal, it is planned by the organization. That is, when you would like to send a proper communication, and what time, what is the content, and so on and so forth. The entire content or entire program is planned. Whereas in case of an informal communication, it doesn't happen planned in a planned way. It happens probably spontaneously or without any reasoning or whatever. Now, in case of formal communication, it flows in all directions. It is similar. It is the similar case in case of informal organization also. Informal communication also. Then it is essential for effective operation of the business. I was just telling you how or what impact a communication can make on the organizational reputation, or goodwill, or whatever it is. It is essential for developing and maintaining human relationships. If you remember my talk, I was talking about the grapevine. Now, there may be gossipers, but what happens is, unless people talk to each other, if they are in watertight compartments or sitting in their own cubicles without communicating with each other, there is no proper coordination between the individuals, nor proper understanding what each one is doing, so that there is no, what I should say, proper flow of the work what they are doing in order to achieve the goals of the organization. Now, what is the sender role in case of a business communication, and what is the receiver's role? The type of message Then receiver, it should be listening or reading carefully. In case of the sender, is the analysis of the receiver, that is to whom you are writing, what you are writing, and so on. Then the receiver should always be open to receive whatever type of messages the sender is sending, whether it is, I mean, not happy communication, or whatever may be the types of communication. He should be willing to receive properly, understand it, and then move forward. Use of the U viewpoint. I'll explain you the U viewpoint a little later. Please understand is use of the U viewpoint in composing and sending the message. Then making notes when necessary. That is, when communication is received, you should be able to first make a small note what is expected out of the communication by the sender. Then, what I should say, address those issues and accordingly give back the response. Provision for feedback, then providing feedback to sender. Both are important. Then removal of communication barriers. There are a lot of communication barriers, which we will talk a little later. But what, like, your noise pollution in case of oral communication and so on and so forth. Then asking questions for clarifications if necessary. As a receiver, you should have the patience if you are unable to understand, or you should not feel shy, or what I should say, you should not feel belittled. Oh, that fellow has sent, I am asking him a clarification. Will he think that I am not intelligent, or I do not have the knowledge, proper knowledge, and so on and so forth? All these things have to be borne in mind in case of a receiver. Business letters. Let us see what are the various types of business letters, what we can have, or what are normally in vogue or in practice. Business letters are formal paper communication between to or from businesses, also called snail mail. Snail mail is nothing but a regular correspondence between two people. Now, let me clarify, when I'm saying people, it includes the organization, not necessarily the individuals. When I'm using the word person or people, it includes the word organization, not necessarily only the individual. The overall style of letter will depend on the relationship between the parties are concerned. Now, I do not know how many of you have heard a demi-official letter, a personal letter, and an official letter, and so on and so forth. A demi-official letter is nothing but, when you address, because you know the person closely, and you have the liberty to address in his name, rather than addressing the letter to the organization and writing kind attention, so and so, so and so. Instead of that, you write at a personal level, which is known as demi. It is a combination of both personal level and all, as well as the official level. Okay, so the style of letter depends on to whom you are addressing and for what you are addressing, and so on and so forth. Includes letter, memo, fax, email. Now, business communication can be in any form: letter, memo, fax, email. Now, what are the various types of letters? Inquiry letters. Suppose when you are writing to an organization saying that what are the products which you are manufacturing, or you already know that they are manufacturing a particular product. Now, please let us know what is the quality of this product, or what are the ingredients you are using, or so on and so forth, and what is the price at which you are going to supply, what is the terms of supply, in the sense, what is the period of time within which you can make the supply, and so on and so forth. Special request letter, that is, you may request that you have to, once you enter into an understanding, you may say that please ensure that instead of sending it in 30 days, if you can make it within 15 days, it will help us, or something like that. Then sales letters, I think many of you are already in certain organizations, which probably you are aware, sales letters can be for a product to be sold to the customer. Now, in case of customer relations letters, there are various forms: follow-up letter, claim letter, adjustment letter, collection letter, and so on. Now here I will spend 1 or 2 minutes because you are also part of the finance part of it. Now when a bill is raised, the product is supplied, a bill is raised along with the supply of the invoice is raised. Now the payment is not received within the stipulated time, then you send a reminder to them saying that we have supplied so and so. The invoice was already attached along with the, I mean, the supply document. So you are requested to pay the said amount, which is so and so, so and so. This is a follow-up letter. Now, claim can be an insurance claim, or for any wrong product on a or a product which has not met the quality standards which were prescribed or which were accepted. Then you may say that due to which we have lost or we were unable to this thing. So you have to, I mean, take back the product, or you compensate us with the damages and so on and so on. Now adjustment letters, when suppose you are due to them and they have to pay you, probably you can say that whatever amount we have to be paid, please adjust against it and then send the balance amount. Collection letter, you have, I need not tell you that you can always say that my person will come, or you can send it to the bank account, the bank details are here and so on and so forth. Now there are other ingredients in the business letters: a positive letter, a negative letter, and a neutral letter. What is a positive letter? Customer relations letters responding favorably to a writer's complaint or request. That is, you have supplied a product, the customer is not happy, the customer writes back to you saying that you have not supplied as per the quality standards or prescribed, or as per the specifications which were accepted, and so on and so forth. Then you can always write a letter saying that we are sorry for it, we are replacing the product with a fresh one, you can return the old one or something like that. These are the, I mean, positive letters. Similarly, a sales letters generally are positive letters which communicate a positive attitude, a positive message to the receiver. A negative letter is customer relation letters refusing a request. Suppose a customer writes back to you saying that you have not met the specifications, or you have not uh, delivered the product within time, and that you always try to give justifications and saying that we will not be able to do any sort of adjustment or any sort of replacement or anything in this matter, we have already done with it. Then neutral letters requesting information about a service, product, placing an order, responding to some action or request. It is neither positive nor negative, but a balanced one when you're, as I said, when you're seeking information and so on and so forth. Why write business letters? A big question. Why at all we have to write business letters? One is to persuade, that is request them, or follow up with them, to inform, to request, to express thanks that when they have given or supplied the product, to say, we are happy that you have supplied it within time and we were able to execute our order and so on. To remind, a reminder letter. As I was saying just about, you have already supplied the product, send the invoice, but the payment has not come, but then you will send a reminder. To recommend certain things. That is, if you want to tell that, you can go for this, or you can go for that, or you do not go for this, something like that. To apologize if there was a fault on your part, you say that we are sorry for it. It was due to some conditions or situation beyond your control, and so on and so forth. To congratulate, to reject a proposal or offer, to introduce a person or policy, to invite or welcome, to follow up, to formalize decisions. Now, these need not necessarily be in external letters. If you observe, they can be part of the internal communications as well as the external communication. I'll tell you a small example. For instance, a new CMD or managing director has been appointed. Now, when a new person has been appointed as the managing director, you first you you first send a letter to the employees informing that so and so has been appointed as managing director with effect from so and so date, who will be in charge of so and so affairs and so on. Similarly, if you want to inform your clients who have been very regular to you, who have been clients for several years and so on and so forth, the same you will say that so and so, we are happy to inform you that so and so person has been appointed as manager with effect from so and so date, with to who will be looking after the affairs of the company or something like that. So these are certain things which can be both external as well as internal. So any of these things, what I am saying, can be part of external communication or internal communication in case of a business letter. Now, what are the benefits of the business letters, or the letters basically? Because we are discussing, we have discussed various forms of business communication, letters, memos, and emails, and so on and so forth. Now we are discussing only the letters part of it. So that is why I'm trying to tell you the various facets of business letters. Represent company's public image and competence, more personal than a report, yet more formal than memos or email. More permanent than email. Email can be, after a certain time, probably the emails disappear, or you may delete it and so on. Whereas a letter, unless until it is misplaced or lost or it is torn off, it becomes a permanent communication. Constitute an official legal record of an agreement. That is, when you have entered into an agreement and consequent to that, you may have to correspond with the parties. Then it will be forming part of the agreement or supporting the agreement. Then follow up on telephone calls and other types of oral communications. Provide a wide range of corporate information. Can support action. Can support action means, suppose, as I said, if payment has not been received to the person to whom you have already supplied your product, then if he has been a continuous defaulter, you can take action, legal action, and and your communications, the letters can form part of the evidence to prove your claim against the person. Achieving the U attitude. I was just mentioning a couple of slides earlier about the U attitude. It is basically nothing but, you should, you must have heard the word empathy, that is empathize. That is, you step into the shoes of the other person and imagine yourself as that person and try to address the situation. That is what the U attitude. Here, when you're addressing a letter, this is very important. That is, remember that the reader is a real person. You're not writing a letter to a wall or to a computer or to a laptop or to a, some machine. It is not. Your any letter which it goes to a human being, a person. So you should be able to avoid using cold phrases, cold letters, or writing impersonal letters and so on, abusive language which hurts the other person. Now, when such language is used by some other person, how you feel, you should imagine yourself and accordingly write the letter. Keep the reader in the forefront. It means that, I know always you keep your boyfriend or girlfriend always in mind when you're trying to reply, or when you're trying to give messages or invite them for a dinner or a party. So similarly, in case of, always remember who is the person, and then try to draft or send the communication. Make sure your readers needs control the tone, message, and organization of the letter. Be courteous and tactful, which is the most important part of a business communication. You should always be courteous, whether you like it or not, and be tactful so that you can convert a potential customer into a continuous customer. Planning a business letter. Who am I writing this letter to? Why am I writing this letter? Are there specific details I need to include? Do I require a response? How can I organize my points logically? Very important inputs. Please, the person to whom you are writing, you are addressing to a senior person in the organization, and the purpose for which you are writing the letter. Are there any specific requirements or details to be given when I am writing my letter? Then, whether you expect a proper response or it is not required, or how, and the logical flow, which is always important in any type of communication, whether it is a letter, whether it is a report, whether it is a petition, whether it is a application to the regulator, and so on and so forth. There should always be a logical sequence in your communication. An effective letter in business uses short, simple sentences and straightforward vocabulary. The easier a letter is to read, the better. You will need to use smooth transitions so that your sentences do not appear too choppy. Here, I would like to bring to your kind notice the problem with the present generation. You know, all of you are very, what I should say, very rampant in communicating on your SMS and MMS language. Now, when you write the SMS, you write great as GR8, da as DA da, for as 4, and so on and so forth. Now, these habits, the problem is die hard. When you are writing your communication, these creep into your official communication, which you should always resist, desist, and try to build up a compartment that when you are writing on a cell phone, the SMS language, that it should not creep into your this thing. And as I was mentioning, I do not know how many of you have heard about the speeches of Dr. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. You know, his speeches are famous for his very simple words which he has used in his speeches. He always uses very small words, very simple words. So that is how it should be, so that it doesn't confuse the receiver what you're trying to communicate, or he understands what you're trying to communicate. Have a clear sense of your purpose and theirs, conduct appropriate research, select the best communication strategy, draft, revise, and edit letter. I've told even in my earlier lecture, there is no, what I should say, practice that people try to draft first, then you try to revise and edit. As I mentioned to you in my last lecture, you are the best critic of yourself. So it is always better, if you remember your good old days when you are in school or college, the parents and the teachers always say, please revise your answer sheet before you finally hand it over to the teacher. So adopt that practice very, drastically, I should say, or very effectively, so that you don't commit mistakes and you can correct even if you have committed mistakes. Now, what are the parts of a letter? First, of course, it should be dated. Then you should have the address to whom you are addressing. Then salutations, that is, dear sir, dear madam, dear whatever it is. Now, body, each paragraph is SS, means it is single space, and double DS means double space between paragraphs. Now, in between, when you are writing in one paragraph, the space between the sentences should be single space. Whereas when you are starting a new paragraph, it has to be in double space. A double space has to be given. Then a new paragraph has to be started or commenced. The body is typically 3 paragraphs in length. It is not necessary, but generally the idea is that a letter should not be very complex, complicated, so that by the time the reader starts reading and ends it, he doesn't understand a single sentence. That is the problem. Now, complementary close, that is At the end of the letter, you should say yours sincerely or yours cordially, yours lovingly, yours beautifully, whatever it is. Generally, these days, earlier, the prevalence or the practice was that we used to end the letter saying yours faith, thanking you, yours faithfully for so and so organization, name and designation of the person. Now, yours faithfully word has been done away with mostly. You find that we write as yours sincerely or sincerely yours or something like that. When you are writing a demi official letter, of course, you say with warm regards or regards and so on. That is because you are writing at a personal level to the other person. Now, writer's name and title, that is your name and designation has to come, then your signature. Then, when you are using the initials, that is example, etc., it should be properly written. No, people do not put the full stop and comma when you write etc. and so on and so forth. Now this is the format how a letter appears. I'll share some other formats also. Just bear with me. The heading, that is the address to whom you are reading. Of course, in case of a company's letterhead, the company's address is already on the top, so you need not write the inside address. That is, sorry, the first one is the from whom it is going. Inside address is from to whom you are writing. Then greetings, as I said, dear sir, dear madam, whatever it is. Then the body, then complimentary close, then signature line. Now attachments, whenever you are attaching a document to the letter, you always enclose extra document image that is added to a letter or email. Body, the content of the letter between the salutation and signature. As I said, the bullets, these are the highlights of whatever you wanted to communicate. You give the summary of the contents of your letter with a bullet point or an arrow mark, whichever you like. Then direct mail oblique junk mail, marketing letters addressed to a large audience. Snail mail, as I said, a mail delivered by a postal system. That is, when you are sending a letter through post, it is known as the snail mail. I just used this word a couple of slides back. I said I'll explain you. Snail mail is nothing but a communication which is sent by post. It is not through email because it has a word mail. It doesn't mean that it is a email. Enclosure, extra document or image included with a letter. Logo, symbol or image that identifies a specific organization. Memorandum, document sent within a company internal. Of course, we're going to deal with separately after this, presented in short form. PS, this is most important. Postscript, that is, you have finished the entire body of the letter. You said thanking you, yours sincerely, or something like that. Then after which you wanted to emphasize on one particular something, you can say postscript, additional remark at the end of a letter. That is what is known as the postscript. Now tone, the feeling of the language, example, serious, enthusiastic, or positive, negative, and so on and so forth. Now business letter formats, normally it is used on a letterhead or a white paper. You should normally use the A4 paper. A4 size paper, I think all of you are aware. Then you should have 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch margins on all sides. Use, it is not necessary that the font, whatever I have recommended, is to be used. It is your choice. The point which I would like to make is basically that it should look pleasant and presentable to the other fellow to receive it and read it with enthusiasm. Use 10 to 12 point font. If you use 6 or 8, it may not be visible. He may not be able to read. He will get fed up and throw your letter without reading it. Then layout of the letter so that it fits the paper appropriately. As I said, single space within paragraphs and double space between paragraphs. That is the thumb rule. Some standards in formatting business letters: double space between paragraphs, I've already told. Double space between last sentence and closing, that is your sincerely. Then leave 3 to 5 spaces for a handwritten signature. Then if you are enclosing any document, you can write copy to if you are marking this letter to somebody, you say copy to so and so. or you can say CC and then type the name of the person or the designation of the person and the organization and so on and so forth. Then if you are enclosing any documents, enclosures, ENCL or ENCLS, if it is plural, if it is more than one document, you have to say ENCLS, or you can say ENC or ENCL. Any one of these formats are acceptable. Now, when you are posting a letter, you cannot fold it in such a mad way. Suppose, I hope all of you are watching me. This is the letter which I have written. Now, if I fold it like this and send it, is it presentable? You see how badly it is folded. You should beautifully fold in such a way that, you know, almost three folds, not more than that, that once he opens it, it is, it doesn't smudge the letters what you have written, then, or it doesn't erase the matter whatever you have written, and it is readable, and the person who is receiving it accepts or feels like reading it further. Now, this is one of the style of a business letter. You have the addresses, the salutations, the body, then yours sincerely, and so on and so forth. This is known as the full block letter. This is a block letter. Your from address is coming to the right hand side. Now, these are the various styles which are adopted. Now, if you see I mean, the commencement of the paragraph, you are seeing that it is totally to the left indent. Now, generally people feel, I will explain you, I'll show you when you see the next format, you will understand. Here you see the paragraph is commencing after 6 spaces. The thumb rule is that whenever a new paragraph is commenced, you should leave 6 spaces and then start. This has been the old style of format. Nowadays, all the people are using totally to the left hand, and the paragraph can commence right from the beginning. It's not necessarily that you have to begin the paragraph like this. However, if you see the government communications or the government correspondence, they still use this old methodology of leaving 6 spaces and commencing the paragraph. Now, this is, a model which is date, then you have space. QS means quadruple space, here double space, DS means double space, double space, double space, double space. QS is, as I said, 4 to 5 spaces, so that you will be able to sign and so on and so forth. Are you able to see, please? Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Are you able to see?
Yes, Andy. Yes, Andy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now here, if you see the entire thing to the left indent and so on and so forth, here the signature is to the right. You can do that also. That is, as I said, it all depends on your way of presentation, and also the person to whom you are addressing, what he likes. You have to play on the psychology of the people. This is an open and a mixed style of letter. If you see the address of the company, it is on the top. So you need not write the from address. If it is from a individual person, then you have to write the from address and the to address. Letter should be positioned just above the center of your paper. This is also very important. I'll show you what does it mean by this. You are able to see how beautifully it is centered.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You see this. Don't you think it is looking very odd?
Yeah.
Similarly, this one. If you compare these three, don't you think the first one is looking so beautiful? So that, because this is all, it makes impact on the psychology of the person to whom you are addressing these letters. Now, letter writing steps: decide who you are writing to and find the address. Write the body without formatting until you get the language perfect. Handwrite the letter. Once approved, type the letter, fold properly, address, envelope. Now, this is more important. Once approved, as I said, I was just telling, prepare a draft, approve yourself. If you have to get the approval from your boss, show it to him in the draft form, get his or her approval, and then you finally type the letter or take the printout on a proper letterhead and then get it signed and then properly fold it and then put it in the envelope and post it. Writing body details: you must have a real, sincere, concrete reason for writing the letter. The letter must give precise details at every step. If a compliment, it cannot be just general adulation, it should be proper. If a problem, offer a detailed solution. If a complaint, extra effort must be taken to give every piece of pertinent information. I've already told what are these inquiry letters. I mean, types of letters: inquiry letter, simplest type of business letters, seek information regarding product manufactured, service rendered, details of time payment plan, names of dealers, retail or wholesale prices, policies on credit, etc., etc., etc. Now, what are the qualities of an inquiry letter? Brevity. It should be precise. It should be to the point, not tell all sort of stories, your RGV story or your Salman Khan story or Shah Rukh Khan story. No, it should be precise to the point, and it should be complete. It should not be half baked. That is, whatever you are trying to either elicit, you should have all the questions in it, or if you are trying to reply to in response to a query, it should answer all the queries which have been asked. Tact and courtesy. As I said, I had already told you, you should be very tactful in your language, in your approach, so that, as I said, a potential customer is converted into a continued or a regular customer. Courtesy makes lots of impact on the human psychology. Some of the suggested, it is not necessary, but suggested phrases, or you may call some formats in inquiry letters: I'm interested, oblique wish, oblique to learn about. I would be most grateful if you could supply us with the following information. I would like to get a description of so and so, so and so. Do you supply dash so and so, so? Does it include dinner, oblique equipment, activities, anything? Suppose you are making a reservation and you are writing to the hotel. Now, the even the tariff is told, you can always ask whether it includes breakfast or your Wi-Fi usage and so on and so forth. What is the price of per day, per piece, per week, and so on and so forth? I would appreciate if you could furnish the following information. That is how you can ask. Would you kindly help me with the following details of your product? Like this, these are some of the suggested, you may call, words, phrases, or anything like that in case of an inquiry letter. Writing inquiry letters, standard parts: you should have the subject, because about what you are going to speak in your letter. Justification for the request, justification for the answer, then expression of appreciation and enclosures. Now, when you are responding, you should be able to justify. Suppose you are refusing a request for a replacement. Why you are unable to accept their request and you are not able to please them, or accept their request. So there should be a proper justification so that the correspondence ends there. Then when you are making a request to the other person, you should give a proper justification why you are making this request, or why you are asking them to do A, B, C, D, E, F, or something like that. Then expression of appreciation: suppose somebody promptly pays you back, you can always send a small letter, with a thanksgiving letter. We thank you for your prompt payment, so that it adds to the value, or the courtesies, and it makes them pleasant, feel, elated, so that next time onwards they keep bear in mind, oh, these people are good. I should be also a good person rather than being a bad person. Qualities: promptness, friendliness, and courtesy. Then, as I said, completeness, helpfulness. I don't think these words require much of an explanation. Promptness is give timely response or timely communication. Friendliness, you should appear friendly, that you are willing to go an extra mile and ensure that you will be able to complete the task or complete the objective of what the sender is expecting us. Completeness, I've already explained. Helpfulness, I've already told you that, it should be, the letter should be in such a way that you don't mind, as I said again, probably an extra mile, or you can always, or you are willing to extend your helping hand to the sender. Tone must always be courteous, and there might be some repetitions, but I wanted to emphasize because we are all day in and day out in the corporate world. So I thought this should be properly hammered in such a way that it sinks into the minds of all of you. Tone must always be courteous and professional, no anger or insults. Must of course be real and not exaggerated. Must give storyline of exactly when, where product was purchased. Must tell exactly what the defect is and how it was discovered or how it occurred. Must tell all steps taken to remedy problem. Did you go back to the store? When? Why? Didn't that resolve the problem? That is, what are the efforts which you have made before writing a letter to the supplier for you to get the problem resolved? That is what it means. So must tell exactly what the defect is and how it was discovered or how it occurred. Must tell all steps taken to remedy the problem. Did you go back? The question is whether you have gone to the store, checked with them, whether they were able to resolve your issue or not. After that, you are writing to the company saying that your dealer or your distributor did not accept my problem, though I explained it to him or something like that. These are the various steps, whether you have taken it or not, so that it doesn't result in various correspondence or take more time than what is expected. Don't be blatant or greedy or needy. If you have bought a small chat piece and for that you are asking a replacement of a TV from a supplier, probably naturally you are very greedy. Don't ask, the human psychology is that, when the supplier is at fault, you try to corner him and say, no, 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 bloody hell, you have made a mess of my life, so that you compensate and, you send me a big TV or a big laptop, in compensation or something like that. That should not be the attitude. Don't ask for too much or for something big. You have to make the reader want to reward you by being a sincere, devoted, polite customer or fan. Now, when you are writing a letter as a follow-up reminder, asking them that the payment has not been received, your tone and tenor should be in such a way that he feels, oh, unnecessarily or unfortunately, I committed a mistake by not paying in time. I should be able to immediately the make the payment immediately. That should be the way you approach. If you enclose something else in the envelope, then below your signature line you type enclosure. Suppose when you are asking for the payment, you can say that the invoice copy which was already raised is a enclosed. Or when you are saying that, informing the person who has sent you a reminder for making payment, you say that we have already made the payment. The copy of the receipt issued by you is enclosed here too. If you send your letter to two people, then below your signature line, you type courtesy copy, as I said, copy to so and so, so and so, so and so. Okay, friends, I think for today I will stop here. If you have any questions, I think because of the loss of 5 to 10 minutes initially, if Mr. Prakash permits me, we can have some questions from the participants. You know, the practical exercise in the next lecture, I'll make them do some practical exercise along with my balance presentation. Is it okay, Mr. Prakash?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely, it will be. I mean, it will be fully practical. Uh,
Yeah, with
work,
some part of
the
the
workshop.
theory,
Workshop.
some
Yeah.
part of the theory, because I have to explain them about the memos and
Yes.
emails, and then finally close it, and then we can spend some 10-15 minutes on a practical issue.
Yes, yes. It's actually, it covered like this methodically, all these classroom lectures. It is fully covered. I mean, as per the syllabus line, if we can, yes, yes. I hope all the participants, you have gained
Then
this professional knowledge in communication skills. Hope you have, because he is a company secretary, practicing company secretary who deals with this daily. So that's the reason he shared with you all the practical exercises. Am I correct? So now, so the next session is a fully complete practicals, and all of you have to participate. And so now let us all open up the mics, please. All of you open the mics. I mean, mics, and then all of you, all of you. There, okay? Please, please. And let us all give him a big thanks. All of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank the speaker. All of you, open up mics.
Thank you
Thank
so
the
much,
speaker.
sir.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for good coming to the lecture.
thank you, one and
Thank,
all. Thank you, one
thank
and
you.
all.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash.
Thank you, sir. Good day. Good day. All the best.